Well, this schedule doesn't look fun at all. Grossi Packer Nation. Welcome to another episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. Next year might hurt a little bit, Grossi, and today we are going to be breaking down the 2021 opponents for the Green Bay Packers. Now, it is known that the schedule has not been released yet, and obviously that makes a big difference, and obviously we'll see, how teams do in the draft and what pieces they add, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll have another couple videos that actually break down the legitimate schedule and, of course, our predictions videos, before the season even starts. But I wanted today to take a gander at who the Packers are going to be playing in 2021, and from the looks of it might not be a fun time. Before I get to that, I want to do a big shout out and thank you to a brand new YouTube member, and that is Carter Ferris 07. A big shout out and thank you to you. Now, it should be known that the NFL could possibly transition into 17 regular season games. Obviously, we have 16 right now with 17 weeks and a bye week, but they are looking to add another one. It was passed in the most recent CBA. And if that comes to fruition this season, the Green Bay Packers have the wonderful opportunity of playing the Kansas City Chiefs. So, the Super Bowl, that could have been 2 years in a row. But we'll talk about that near the end. Let's break down who we're actually going to be playing. Starting off with our home games. You got the Bears, you got the Lions, you got the Vikings, you got the Browns, you got the Rams, you got the Steelers, you got the Seahawks, and you got the Washington football team. And from the looks of it, not a lot of easy teams to contend with. Obviously, you have our division, which could always go either way, though Matt LaFleur has done a nice job of kicking their ass for the past 2 years. The Vikings were the only ones who actually have been able to defeat us since Matt LaFleur became our head coach because of that one game this year. And taking a look at the North this year, obviously the Lions are in rebuild mode and they won't have Matt Stafford. They'll have Jared Goff, which is a downgrade. I'm not too worried about the Lions. I'm assuming they're going to be doing some work within the draft. But yeah, they're in full-blown rebuild mode right this second. You have the Bears, who knows what's going on with their QB situation. Obviously, they just brought in Mike Pettin as their senior defensive assistant to help out their brand new DC, Sean Desai. And the Bears defense is going to be good. However, the Bears defense also struggled with the Packers offense. And on top of that, I don't believe in their offense in any way, shape, or form. Also, there was a funny thing that happened yesterday in which David Montgomery said how much he loved playing in Chicago and it's been a great time, and everyone was freaking out and was like, oh my god, David Montgomery was leaving, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. But no, apparently he just likes being on the Bears, so that was disappointing. But the Bears, I'm not really concerned about their offense. Obviously, Allen Robinson's most likely not going to be on the team either, so I think that offense is definitely going to take a step back. And then you have the Vikings, who were pretty pitiful this past season, and they are going to need some help on the defensive side of the ball. Their offense was clicking with Justin Jefferson, obviously Cook, and of course Adam Thielen. However, there was talks about potentially getting rid of Kirk Cousins. I don't know if that's actually going to come to fruition, but the Vikings, they need some help on multiple sides of the ball. So I'm honestly not overly concerned with the rest of the NFC North. I see these 3 games as wins. Obviously, you never know what happens in a divisional game, but I feel pretty confident about the Packers' chances here. Then you got the Cleveland Browns, and the Browns obviously much improved this year under head coach Kevin Stefanski, wound up winning Coach of the Year, and led by that power running game, which every single Packers fan was like, oh no. The combination of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt has proven to be one of the best backfields, if not the best backfields in the league. Ours isn't too shabby either. OBJ will be back to full health. And of course, you have Jarvis Landry, who's one of the most underrated wide receivers in the NFL, especially for fantasy PPR. He's amazing. This is going to be a tough game, and this game honestly could go either way. I do think the Packers have a slight edge because they're at home, but other than that, this is going to be a tough game to win. If they're unable to stop that run game, could be problematic. Now, a lot of our defense is staying in place, so again, I'm not overly concerned. And of course, if we draft another guy on that defensive line, could make things better. But this is definitely going to be a game to look out for. Then a repeat of the divisional round matchup. You have the LA Rams coming back to Lambeau, but this time with Matt Stafford and a healthy Aaron Donald and a healthy Cooper Kupp. Yeah, I mean, I know we're not really predicting wins and losses here, but this one I see is probably going to be a loss. This is going to be a tough-ass game to win. Matthew Stafford, obviously lots of experience with the Green Bay Packers, but finally on a team that I don't know, is built around him, and it's not just Matthew Stafford. They have a good run game, they have an amazing defense, and they have some dangerous wide receivers to throw to. I think that this is probably the toughest game that we are going to face at home because the Rams are going to be a complete team on either side of the ball. Then you got the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have an amazing defense. Offense, a lot of question marks. Obviously, the run game is much to be desired, and who the hell knows what's going on at QB for next season. Is Ben Roethlisberger going to continue because he didn't look good in that last game in the wild card round against the Browns? There's a lot of question marks there. Also, the Steelers really didn't play so great down the stretch against better teams, and so I think the Packers could definitely take this one, especially if they're kind of transitioning away from Ben Roethlisberger and they have some question marks at running back. While I think this will be a good game, because it usually is when the Steelers and Packers get together, I give the Packers a slight edge here. Then, of course, you have the Seattle Seahawks, who I just hate them so much. Russell Wilson complaining that he doesn't want to get hit anymore, and honestly, I can't blame him. And usually when the Seahawks come to Lambeau, it benefits the Green Bay Packers. The Packers do really damn well here. When they go to Seattle, it really doesn't work so well at all. The Seattle team is going to be a good competitive team next year, and I think that this is going to be a really good game. The problem is that both sides of the ball for the Seahawks, they never really gelled. Either the offense was doing well and the defense wasn't, or vice versa. It's going to be interesting to see who the Seahawks target with their day 1 and day 2 picks. Is it going to be on offense to try to make that offensive line a little bit better, or is it going to be that defense? Obviously, they have receivers like Lockett and Metcalf who can play, and I think that this could definitely be a great game next season, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was a primetime game. But I will give the Packers a very slight edge because of the history that Russell Wilson has at Lambeau, and it's usually not so good, or at least that's what I'm going to tell myself, because I can't imagine losing to the Seahawks. Please, God, kill me. And then finally, you got the Washington football team. Another really good defense coming into Lambeau. But again, a lot of question marks on what's going on in the offense of the Washington football team. Alex Smith, listen, comeback player of the year, 100%, rename the entire award after him. However, coming off some injuries, Kyle Allen is coming off some injuries, and he's making a comeback. Heineke just got extended. Who knows what they're going to do at QB? And listen, their wide receivers and running backs did pretty well for themselves last year. I do still think that they're a couple years away from being real contenders. However, don't be surprised if the Washington football team puts up a really good fight and/or surprises the Packers because of how good that defense, especially that pass rush, is. Then taking a look at the away games, of course, you have our NFC North opponents once again. I'm not going to really go into those because it's basically everything I just said about them before, except now that they're away. Besides those three, you have the Cardinals, the Ravens, the Bengals, the Saints, and the 49ers. Another stretch of pretty difficult opponents if we're basing it off of this year and the past year's success. Starting off with the Arizona Cardinals, this should be a real fun game. If you're a Packers fan, you know all about our history with mobile QBs, and Kyler Murray is just that. Their defense does leave some to be desired, and their offensive line, while improved a little bit, I think our pass rush definitely could get after them. But I do think that the Cardinals' trajectory is definitely heading up. I think that this is going to be an improved team next year. They're going to be contending for the NFC West title, and I think that the Cardinals have a good shot of knocking us off if all of those pieces come together. We'll see how their run game looks this season because it really didn't look so great last season with Drake, but this should definitely be a fun game, if only just for Jair Alexander and DeAndre Hopkins going at it. Then you got the Baltimore Ravens. Oh, here's another mobile QB. Yay. Led by a power run game, which will feature J.K. Dobbins, who really was coming on near the end of the year. The Ravens provide a tough matchup for the Green Bay Packers, and this might be another one where I'm looking and going, maybe we lose this one. Overall, I think the Packers could definitely score on this team. It's just about containing Lamar Jackson and, of course, stopping the run game, which kind of seems to be the theme here. We're going up against some damn good running teams next year. I will say, however, though, the Ravens definitely need another wide receiver because they ranked really far down when it came to passing, and Lamar Jackson obviously was schemed for better. However, I think the Packers will still have a tough time with the Ravens. It should be a really good game. Then you got the Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah, we'll win that game. Then you got the New Orleans Saints. Lots of question marks going on here, considering their cap space is just god-awful. Most likely no more Drew Brees. Will be going up against former Packers Taysom Hill. They're going to probably have to send away some of that defense because, again, they really have like no cap space. I'm pretty sure it's negative $6 billion. Don't check my math on that. But the Saints and Packers is always a fun matchup, and even if Drew Brees is not there and some of those defensive pieces are missing, this should still be a high-scoring game. Obviously, you have Michael Thomas and you have Alvin Kamara who ran all over us back in the Week 3 matchup this past season on Sunday Night Football, but we were able to squeak away with a win. Obviously, with the Packers offense, we're not losing too much except potentially Corey Linsley and, of course, our backfield of Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams, which is painful, but I do believe in A.J. Dillon because he has impressed every single time that he's touched the ball. The Saints do feature one of the best run defenses in the league, so this will definitely be a fun matchup. But with all the question marks that the Saints have going on, I do give the edge to the Packers. And then finally, because God forbid we got a home game against them, you got the San Francisco 49ers. Yeah, this game terrifies me. Back at full force, their defense should be doing real good. I think I just read somewhere that Bosa's injury might be a little bit more significant, so I am wishing him a speedy recovery. But if he's back on the field, yeah, this is going to be a problem. The 49ers have a good draft pick, and on top of that, they're already a good team. Yes, there's some question marks of what's going on at QB. Is Jimmy G really going to be their franchise guy, or are they going to make a move for somebody else? That's the ultimate question. But the defense alone is enough to kind of give me nightmares. That pass rush is going to give us fits, and God, I just don't want to lose to the 49ers again. And finally, if the NFL season does get extended to 17 regular season games, the Green Bay Packers would be playing the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, if you go back to this past Sunday, I'd be like, oh, okay. But then I remember that we don't have as good a defense as the Buccaneers do. And I'm like, okay. Yeah, the majority of the Kansas City Chiefs are most likely going to be back next year. There's still going to be tons of threats there. And Patrick Mahomes is still going to be playing QB. This should be a really fun game. I would be shocked if this is not a primetime game. But this might be one of the final times you see Aaron Rodgers versus Patrick Mahomes, or at least Aaron Rodgers in a Packers uniform, which is very sad. And this should be a high-flying affair. I am super excited for this game, considering that we were robbed a couple years back because Patrick Mahomes was injured. So this should be an amazing test if the Packers want to see how good they actually are. Obviously, their Chiefs have a bunch of holes, whether it's on the offensive line, or it's their run game, or it's their defense. The Packers are a similarly built team. While they do have a run game, we'll see what it looks like with the new backfield. And their defense, they definitely have some holes. This is going to be a back and forth game, and honestly, I can't wait for it. And I'd probably give a slight edge to the Chiefs here, but otherwise, get your popcorn ready. So all in all, there looks to be at least 6 really tough games on the schedule, 7 if you count the Saints and 8 if you count the Chiefs. The Saints, I might take away one just because there are so many question marks there, but you look at the Browns, the Steelers, the Seahawks, the Cardinals, the Ravens, and the 49ers. Yikes. Yeah, this is going to be a tough year. And I know 2 years ago we went 13-3. A lot of people were like, look at the quality of opponent that you're playing. And this past year, there was some little bits of that calling us fraudulent. If the Packers are able to make it to the playoffs this season, I don't think there's going to be anybody calling them frauds because there's some damn good teams that they have to go through. We'll do a legitimate record prediction when the schedule is released. But right now, I mean, looking at this, 10-6, 11-5, if everything goes wrong for the Green Bay Packers. But then again, I've learned not to bet against Matt LaFleur because we went 13-3 2 years in a row and back-to-back NFC Championship games. So I have faith. But let me know what you think down in the comments below about the quality of opponents that we're going to be playing next season. Let me know what you think. You can always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or TomGrossiComedy on all social media. See down below. Check out Patcast on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, and of course YouTube. And a big shout and thank you to all the patrons over at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy and the YouTube members. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack, go.